On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting number 8 Texas versus Houston. Dylan, it's been a long time since anyone could say that matchup, hasn't it? Now, the game, of course, got some basic info, courtesy of HornSports.com. Check us out there. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. Game info, it's been a while since, yet again, Texas has played at Houston, so maybe it's good for you guys to listen up here. Otherwise, you might end up at the wrong high school stadium because you don't want to do that. You don't want to end up at North Shore. You want to end up at a university stadium in UH.
Yeah.
The game is on Saturday, the 21st of October at 3 p.m. Central Time at TDECU. Dylan, that's an interesting acronym we got there.
You could say TDECU too. Yeah.
You could. That just doesn't ring, it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as much. It's in Houston,
exactly.
of course. Please do not show up to any other city. If so, I'm going to be embarrassed. Televised on Fox, Texas is favored by 22.5 points. Jokes aside, Dylan, scouting report. What are you feeling?
Yeah, on the defensive end, this Houston team has really struggled. In comparison, you look at how JT Daniels fared against that Texas defense, I think around week 1, right? And then you look at how he did against Houston. He put up 401 yards and 3 touchdowns. So this is, in comparison to Texas, not up to the same standard. They're last in the Big 12 in yards allowed, 429 per game, and 6.1 yards per play. They're 12th in rushing yards allowed per game. So that's third to last about there in the Big 12. Per game for in rushing yards, I'm losing my words here, 162 per game and 4.4 yards per rush. And they're at the most points allowed in the Big 12 with 31.3 points per game. So Texas is definitely going to be looking to feast on this underperforming defensive unit, but they do have some bright spots in senior linebacker Malik Robinson. Devon, he's got 44 tackles on the year. So he's leading Houston in that realm. They've got sophomore defensive back Adare Halsey, he's third in the Big 12 in solo tackles with 31, and he's second on the team with 43 total tackles. Then up front, you got the big boy junior defensive lineman Nelson Caesar. He's tied for 7th in the Big 12 in 7 tackles for a loss. He's got 25 tackles and 4.5 sacks on the year. So that's somebody to watch out for on the front line for them. Then you got cornerbacks Isaiah Hamilton and Mark Fleming, who have 3 interceptions each, Devon. So that's 6 total. Houston has 7 total on the year. So they've been able to get interceptions this year and turnovers. So that's been, again, a bright spot for this team. But when it comes to just the execution, they definitely, I bet that coaching staff would definitely like them to be better going into this game against Texas.
Yeah, and I got the offense, Dylan, led by quarterback, and Texas fans, plug your ears in a second. Junior Texas Tech transfer. He beat Texas. Was it last year, Dylan? I know he did beat Texas. Donovan Smith, who is 3rd in the conference, Dylan, right now, I believe, in passing yards. That's kind of crazy. I mean, hey, you don't like to shout out Houston, Dylan, but I'm going to shout him out right there. Donovan Smith has been doing well. 13 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Fairly decent ratio, if I had to say so myself. Leading the way at wide receiver, another transfer. This has been the storyline in the Big 12 Conference and really in college football in general, if you've been paying attention. Transfers are appearing and are playing, Dylan. West Virginia transfer Samuel Brown, the 6'2" wideout, has 37. Dylan, can Devon count today? 37 receptions for 549 yards. I can't talk. And 2 touchdowns. But while he has been the guy for the Cougars, the majority of the touchdown production has come from 2 other receivers. Dylan, this is a fun name to say if I can get it out. I don't know. I'm having some sort of mental problem today. 6'3", sophomore Joseph, get ready, Manjack. Boom, right there. And as Dylan mentioned before recording, sophomore Matthew Golden, who's a very talented player, one of the highest recruits when he was coming out of high school. And, Dylan chose Houston over some other big schools. Those 2 have combined for over 600 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. At running back, this is where things get interesting. You got freshman Parker Jenkins, Dylan. I know freshman running backs, they're kind of a mixed bag. You kind of get what you get and, hope that they grow over time. Texas has gotten lucky in recent years. C.J. Baxter seems to be pretty talented. Of course, Jonathan Brooks has the reins right now. But Parker Jenkins has rushed for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns which of course, if you compare to Jonathan Brooks, not quite the same, Dylan. And then you got sophomore Stacy Sneed, who adds another 206 yards and a touchdown on the ground. But something to watch out for, Dylan. Something that seems like every week. I'm not talking backup quarterback this time. I'm done with that rant. Donovan Smith can also run. He adds a little something. He isn't, crazy on the ground, but he does add a running element to the Houston Cougars, so that will be something to watch out for if you're the Texas defensive line and the linebacking group. And then lastly, the Houston offensive line ranks 97th in the country. 97th in the country in sacks allowed, averaging 2.5 sacks allowed per game. Of course, though, Dylan, that's also been something that Texas has struggled with defensively, has been ultimately getting the quarterback to the ground. They seem to create pressure, but you gotta finish the play, Dylan, in order to win football games. So that's the quick scouting report on offense. Dylan, how are you feeling about those X factors?
Yeah, X factors for both sides in this case, especially just with the talent disparity, Devin. I got to go special teams in this turnover battle for Houston. Again, Matthew Golden, he leads the Big 12 with kick return touchdowns. He's got 2 of them. He's been very dynamic just returning the ball, right? So that's something to watch out for when it comes for Texas. And then Houston, they've also got 7 receptions on the season, like I mentioned earlier. So if Texas is going to want to win this game and keep Houston from having a chance and possibly pulling off the upset, got to take care of the football, right? And that's the fumbles and that's the interceptions that I'm talking about. So look at the special teams and that turnover battle here going into this game, because that's going to be kind of the marker of if Houston is able to kind of stay around and, again, possibly pull off their biggest wins, joining the Big 12 if they can win this game.
100%. And I went with the group that I believe Dylan I listed last weekend. At number 1, I have the Texas secondary. Now, I had it further in my notes. Donovan Smith is the 3rd leading passer in the Big 12, so that's definitely going to be a challenge. Of course, Houston, though, Dylan, has not been too scary of a team so far this season, but still Smith has had success in the air. And, of course, besides really the last game-winning drive, plug your ears, Texas fans, against Oklahoma, the secondary didn't do too awful or anything. But, however, you play a full game for a reason, and on that last drive, just was not what you wanted to see if you're Longhorns fans. This will be another test for that. And then, just like I was alluding to earlier, getting the quarterback to the ground, Dylan, is another X factor for me in this one. Texas has created pressure, but they're going to have to finish the play to get their defense in a good position on 3rd and 4th down, to where they're not in the position where, are they going to go for it on 4th and 1? You want to make it 4th and 7, 4th and long. Now, Dylan, let's see what we've got here. We got the danger level. I don't know what you're going with. I feel like you've been mean with these, so how you feeling?
Listen, I was in Houston for 6 weeks. I was going to their games. There wasn't anything that was like really stood out. There's still a team trying to get better as the season goes along, still kind of find their true identity, right? So right now I got this danger level as a 1, Devin. We play this game for a reason. I think just with Texas coming off of this loss against Oklahoma, Houston's just going to get caught in the crosshairs here, because this is when Texas is going to want to bounce back, show what they're still made out of. And ultimately, if they can execute well and up to their standard, they should be able to rout Houston, right? Barring any unforeseen changes with this Houston offense and how their defense is played on just multiple fronts. It's going to be tough for Houston to move the ball on Texas on offense. And then in the case when it comes to defense, Jonathan Brooks and Ewers might have a day, right, in this case. So I've got this danger level just sitting at a 1 here.
I think, Dylan, if you are Texas, though, you do want Jonathan Brooks, of course, and Quinn Ewers to have a day. This is a day where you need to get that confidence back and finish drives. Yet again, like I'm saying, finish plays on defense. On offense, the problem's been finishing drives. You march 80 yards and then just can't punch it into the end zone. I mean, that's been a major problem. This will be a good game, especially after the bye week, and I can guarantee you the players have had enough with Oklahoma game tape for the past week and a half. They're going to want to punch somebody down, and unfortunately, in this game, the punching is leading up to the Houston Cougars. I am giving it a danger level of a 3, in large part because it is on the road. If it was at home, maybe I'd go with 2 or something. But Houston, yet again, they do have talent, and they are coached by Dana Holgorsen, an all-time great coach, at least in terms of, being able to stay at such a high level for so long. And it was famous, Dylan, when he left West Virginia, right, for Houston. People were kind of scratching their heads and thinking what was going on. Well, Houston got the last laugh, I believe, last weekend against West Virginia on a Hail Mary, which, Dylan, man, that was painful to watch. But yet again, at Houston, we're going to see what that Houston crowd brings. Dylan, something leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot of orange in that building, though, on Saturday. So I don't know how much of a home field advantage it will be, but I am giving it a 3. Now, predictions, Dylan, what are you feeling here?
Yeah, I've got Texas winning this game 56-10. Again, this is going to be a big bounce back game. I think Texas is going to be on their best behavior in this one, especially when it comes to just showing off what they got. Expect Ewers to have a big game. Expect Brooks to be running all over the place, and this defense to really be pinning their ears back. Because again, with the struggles of that Houston offensive line, this is the game to get their sack total up. I expect Sweat to be wrecking havoc up front, and these linebackers with Benda and Anthony Hill, I see no reason why they're not just creating problems for Smith all game. So again, I've only got Texas allowing 10 points in this, and I expect their offense to catch fire early and keep that momentum going into the fourth quarter.
As you said, Texas needs to be on their best behavior. Dylan, penalties was a problem last weekend against Oklahoma. They're going to have to stay out of that column. It always hurts to see when you got, offensive line pre-snap penalties, Dylan. That will kill any coach. And yet again, I'm sure the Kyle Flood crew had some fun talking about that these past 2 weeks. I do have a big score too. I have Texas winning 41-13. Yet again, picking games is harder than rocket science, Dylan, when it comes to the score predictions. I will vouch on that. Unless you're Vegas, somehow they seem to do it right. But no, yet again, as Dylan said, expect big games from Quinn Ewers, Jonathan Brooks. It's going to be a good game for the defense as well to face a quarterback that can challenge them once again and get their confidence up. Hopefully, of course, if you're Texas fans. And yet again, I don't know how big of a home field advantage it's going to be for Houston. So this might be a fun road game to have, especially in the last year of the Big 12. But Dylan, yet again, this game is about regaining confidence. I've said it 800 times. But bouncing back from the Oklahoma game is one thing, but then you have that bye week that really let things marinate. I am sure they're not going to be a happy group. I would not want to be Houston on Saturday. But, thankfully for me, that's not my problem to deal with. We'll see how Houston handles the challenge and how Texas handles the adversity of that loss last week. Boom. There you go. But more importantly than our opinions, what do you think about this Houston versus Texas game? What are your score predictions? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out at HornSports. And, of course, as always, have a great rest of your day.